Hello and welcome to today's session. Um, as always, let us start with what we are going to cover today. Today we will focus on list comprehension and another similar one, which is the dictionary comprehension. Okay, so let us get into PyCharm and see how all of these things come together in code. Okay, so I have my file created here in advance, and let me put the banner up. It's a list comprehension. So what is a list comprehension in Python? Okay, let me tackle the both of them because it's just the same thing, just that they are performed on different iterable data sets. A list or a dictionary comprehension is a concise way to create lists and dictionaries using a single line of code. Usually, if we wanted to create those things, we will use a traditional for loop, like the one we did not long ago. But when we will use list comprehensions, we can consolidate all the lines of the for loop into just a single line. So let us take a few examples of the list comprehension. So we will first look at how we will write a particular code using a traditional for loop, and then how we will write the same code using a list comprehension. So let's just say that we want a code that will generate a list, the square of numbers from, say, maybe 1 to 10 or 1 to any number, and then store it inside a for loop. So how we will normally go about such a thing is that we will just say maybe a list of squares, and we can set that it will be equal to an empty list for now. And then now we can say that maybe for number in range of, let's choose 10 for now. We can now say that value or something like that should be equal to number being multiplied by a number. So we are just taking the square of the number. And then here we can say that squares dot append, want to append the value. And this will work for us. And then here we can say maybe print squares. Okay. So let's run the code now and see what the output would be. Fantastic. We have all the squares of the numbers from 1 up to 9. I told you that day that if you want to use the range function, usually it will take you to the number you pass in -1. So if you want it to actually end at 10 and see 100 there, you should put 11 here. And in that case, it will give us up to 100. So this is it. We have the square of all the numbers from, in this case, 0 to 100, 0 to 10, sorry. But this gave us 1. Let's see, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of code to do this. Let's see how we can do the same thing with a list comprehension. So I'll maintain this, and then I'll comment out this for now. And then this is how we type a list comprehension. So I can say X, or maybe number multiplied by, or the exponent of number for number in range of, in our case, it was 11. This is how we will type this for loop here. This particular for loop at this side. If you want to represent it in a list comprehension, this is how we type it. Inside the list square brackets themselves, we just say number. So usually introduce the variable. The syntax may not always look like this. That is why usually, I give a kind of how it looks like, but the syntax may not always look like this. But if you grasp the understanding from here, I think you can apply it to any complex problem that you want to, because this list comprehension can actually go further and have if else inside, just like we do for normal loops. And so for this purpose, for this example, we can just say number star star 2, which will also give us the same output as we multiply number by itself. You know that this will also multiply it by 2, like it should be like the same as exponent 2. And so that's one for number in range 11. But I think the list comprehension even looks more readable. So if I run the code, I have my for loop commented out, but I still have the same results at my terminal. I have consolidated 3 lines of code into just 1 line, and then it's giving me the same output. So that is one of the examples of the list comprehension. We can take it a step further. Maybe let's see how we can also use a list comprehension to filter out odd numbers. But before then, let's see how we can let's see how we do it in traditional, like with a traditional for loop. Then we see how we can filter it out with a list comprehension. So let me minimize this space and then clear everything, not my 3 square brackets. Okay. So let's just say that we want to filter out odd numbers. So let's say, let's use a dictionary rather. Even numbers, the dictionary, let me call it even numbers. And then let me set, no, I'm not adding anything in here, so I don't need to open it up. So I can say for maybe item in range, let's pick 11 again, so that we will end at 10. And then you can see that if X, or if item, sorry, in this case, is equal to, so you know what this particular line is doing from previous things that we have done. You know that we are checking if item is an even number. Okay. If that is the case, then we can say even numbers, our dictionary up there, and then we want to add a new item to it, so we can say X, in our case, okay, the item itself, and we set the value equal to not just the item, but let's just stick to the first example. So item, correct, like this, redundant space here. Okay, great. So after this, then we can print out our even numbers. Where is it? So let's just run this particular code and see. It gives us the number and then a squared, the number and a squared, the number and a squared, but it only does it for the even numbers. So if we want to do it for odd numbers also, we can just simply say so. So this one will give us all odd numbers from 1 to 10 and they are square. Let's see how we can use this, use a dictionary, not the dictionary comprehension. We are using a dictionary to store it, but we are not using a dictionary comprehension here. We are using a list comprehension. So let's see how we can use a list comprehension to also simplify this particular expression. Okay. Or if the dictionary confuses you, maybe it was not even necessary, I can equally use a list here, and then instead of this, I can just say dot append, and then I'll append item squared. The dictionary may confuse you, sorry. So that one gives us the square of all the even numbers from 0 up to 10 in this case. So that is what I intended to do. So now that we have changed it to a list, let's see how a list comprehension can help us do that. So I can just say that, okay, fine. Numbers, let me make it numbers for now because we may change some of those things as and when we want it even or odd. And so here we will also print numbers. Now, we want to do the filtering. So I can say number for number in, and then we can declare a range again. So range of 11 as first. And then in here, I can say now that if, maybe I shouldn't have deleted the old code. Let me finish typing this and I'll bring that one to back. If number percentage 2 is not equal to 0. Let me, for a moment, cut this line so that we can put the two side by side and compare them. I think that is what will give you more understanding. Okay, so this is the old code. I will maintain this one here. And then comment out this old code, the for loop itself, with a nested if statement. And because it is even numbers, I have to make this one equal to. Other than that, it will render to odd numbers alone. So we see here that this down here is the output of the for loop here. This one gave us this. So let's see if this one line can replace the 3 lines. And so we'll be expecting 0, 4, 16, 36, 64, and 100 if everything works correctly. I think. Oh, no. I think we have forgotten something here. Number star 2, but we want to multiply it, the square. And yes, we get exactly the same thing. Sorry, I forgot to take the square of the number at first. But you see that this one line here is doing the work that the 3 lines of code are doing. And so that is what list comprehensions are for. They simplify our number of lines, especially when we are writing loops. You can, and then after the loop, you will append or add your data to a list or a dictionary. Then you can go with this simplified method. Kind of a little advanced, but that is where we have gotten to in our camp. I told you yesterday that now that you've done functions, you have been given all that it takes to do some crazy stuff with the Python programming language. So we are now zooming into some of the advanced stuff. If there are any questions about the dictionary comprehension, I have to, sorry, the list, how do I keep saying dictionary? The list comprehension that I have to address on air, please let me know. Other than that, we may move on to the dictionary comprehension. So let me give like 1 minute, assuming that is the time it will take you to type your question. Then we can move on to dictionary comprehension. Okay, so let us go to the dictionary comprehension. We'll try and maintain just the same examples so that we will not go so much, of course. So maybe, should I call it squares or The first one we called it squares. I think so. So let's do the same thing for this one. Let's just assume also that we want to store all numbers from 1 to 10. So each number, and then we also store the square of that number. So the number as the key and the square as the value. Traditionally, I would say for number in, say, range of 11, I can say that squares and then the particular number equal to, and then number star 2. Then afterwards, I can print squares. Okay, so what this code is doing is that for each number, this is how we add new entries to a dictionary. So what it's saying is that if it gets to 1, add 1 as a key to the dictionary, and the value of 1 should be 1 squared. And then when it gets to 2, add 2 as a key, and then let the value be 2 squared, just like that. So that is what it is doing. If we run this code now, maybe we should reduce the range so that it makes things simpler. 5 should do. Or maybe I can say 1, and then bring space, and then 6, so that one will start from 1 and always end at the second argument minus 1. So that is 1 to 5. I don't want to include 0. Yes. So now it gives us each of the numbers and then their square as a value. But it did that in 2 lines. So let us see how we can use dictionary comprehension also to simplify this one to a one-liner. So as always, I will comment this one out. And then inside the dictionary's declaration, I can say number, which now becomes the key. And then I give the value to be, say, number star 2 to the key value. And then I can say for number in range, I think we choose 1 to 6. So this is also these 2 lines that I have simplified in one line. The first is the value, the key, and then the value, which is equal to what we are doing here. So we got the key here, and then we got the value. So that is what we have done here, but in a simplified version. And then we now declare our for loop. So this becomes the for loop variable. This one here becomes the for loop variable, like this one, which we are using throughout the loop. So that is what you should also call after the for. That is why I'm saying that for number in the range of 1 to 6, or 1 to 5 in this case, because that's what it will return. So that is also the simplified version. So a dictionary comprehension, for the list comprehension, usually to just be the variable. So if it was number, we can say number so and so for number in range, maybe 1 to 6, like our case. But for the dictionary comprehension, you always have to bring the key and then the value follows. So this one should be, if it was a list comprehension, this would have read like a number for number in range 1 to 6 or something like that. But because it's a dictionary, don't forget to bring your colon to separate the key and the value. I don't think this is so difficult. Just like the list comprehension is just so easy. So when I run it, I get the same output as before when these 2 lines were giving me their output. So I don't think this one should also be difficult at all. Okay, there are no questions. So let's see the second example. What did we do for the second example? I think we were printing something. We're printing the numbers and their squares, but I think we placed emphasis on even numbers and odd numbers, something like that. Yes. So let me clear this space and then do the second example too for the dictionary comprehension. So the same even numbers list. So even, no, this time around it will be a dictionary because you are doing a dictionary comprehension. So even numbers, that will be an empty dictionary. And then now we can say for number in range of, let's pick 1 and 5 for simplicity. So 1 and 5. I'm putting 6 because it will end at 6 minus 1. That's why I'm saying 1 and 5. And then we can say if number percentage 2 is 0, in that case, we know that the number is even. Then we can say even numbers, even numbers. And then we give a key, which is the number itself. And then we set a value to be equal to number squared. And then afterwards, we can print out our even numbers. So this is also how we can use a dictionary and a for loop to get all the, okay, now it's return only 2 because we set it to 5. Maybe we can increase it, or we can even leave it like this. It still says or explains what I want to let you know. So it's also getting for us all the numbers between 1 and 5, or from 1 to 5. And then if that particular number is even, then it will give us the number as a key and its square as a value. And so we know that from 1 to 5, we only have 2 and 4, which are even numbers. If I change this one to make it odd, then should give us 1, 3, and 5, because 5 itself is odd. So let's go back to our even. How do I now consolidate all these 3 lines into one line, like with a comprehension? Okay. I'll go ahead and comment out this one as always. And then you know that for the dictionary comprehension, we get 2 parts, which is number, and then the value, which will be number squared for number in range, we did 1 to 5. 1 to 5. If number, I think I'm getting more than, or let me bring this one to the next line so that you can see the full code. If number mod 2 is 0. So if we did everything right, we should see 2 as a key, and then the value should be 4, and then 4 as a key, the value should be 16, just like the first one gave us. And you see that it's exactly the same output that we are having here. And so that is how we can simplify some of these expressions with comprehension. You are not strictly required to use these things in your code. In fact, but if you use them, everybody who reads your code knows that you are really a seasoned developer. So that will be it about the list and dictionary comprehensions. This, of course, are very simple examples, but as you explore with them and try to do some crazy stuff with them, you get to know that they can do more than you are seeing now. In fact, there are instances where I've used them that I nested a very long statement in the comprehension. We can actually add else statements in there, so it doesn't just end with the if and all that. So if there are any questions I have to address on air, kindly type them in there. Other than that, we can close the chapter on today and then anticipate for Monday, which should be day 13. But as usual, the assignment will be posted on the Google Classroom, so make sure you check that one out. Usually, they'll try and give you notifications via mail. So if you don't receive it, it will still be there by tomorrow. So make sure you check it out and submit it on time. And based on your feedback for the last one, I will extend the time for this one, not to Monday, but maybe to Wednesday or Thursday, so that you have much time to do it. Because as we go along, the tasks for this week will be difficult than the ones which has come before. So it makes sense to extend the deadline also. I will leave 1 minute as always for any questions if there are any. Other than that, I will close chapter on today. Okay, so there are no questions. Thank you for your time today also. And I'll see you for the 13 on Monday. Don't forget to always keep practicing. I'll see you. Bye-bye.